Good night, everyone. Done tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill Spiritual. I'm going to give you a word on tonight. And the topic going to be Athaliah and Josh. Evil ambition. You know, you have to be even, you have to be real evil to kill all your grandkids. So this story about Athaliah. Now, she was a queen. And she was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. The wife of Jehoram. And both was dead. Both of her parents was dead. So Angelia was evil and ambition. She learned from both of her parents because they was the same way too. So she was a grandmother. But she had to choose between her grandkids and the throne. You know, she wanted to make history for herself. And she wanted the throne, but it would go to her grandkids. So she wanted to move them out the way. So then she was even ambitious. The throne that she wanted. It means more to her than her grandkids. Now our grandkids is precious to us. That your grandkids should mean more, you know, to you than anything else besides God. So Second King chapter 11 verse 1 through 21. Angeline was the mother of her son, and she saw him dead. So instead of her mourning for her son, she just thinking of evilness, of power, you know. So she didn't mourn for her son. Right then and there, she started proceeding to destroy the whole royalty family, because it was going to go to her grandkids, you know, not to her. So she's about to kill all her grandkids for the royalty throne, and she become to be so evil and ambitious, just like her parents was, you know. So then Joshua took Josh, that's the nurse, so they heard that she trying to kill all her grandkids, so they took Josh, one of the child, they hid him, they took him from among the royalty princes who was about to be murdered, so she put him, in a nurse, had give him to the nurse, and she hid him, and then a grandmother, she did not know how many grandkids she had. So when she killed the grandkids, she thought that was all of them. So now this is her son child. This is her son child, the one that she loved, that she flipped out, that when she saw was dead. Now she killed all his kids, but one of his child was still alive that the nurse had took and hid. So she remained, the child remained hidden, with the nurse, at the temple where she was ruling at the land. So in the 7th year, that's when the nurse sent for the commanders of the unit of the 100 in the guard. She commanded the guards and all them, to let them know about this child, that he gonna be the king, you know, to bring him at the temple of the Lord. Now she made a covenant with them, and put them under oath, because nobody know about this child, So she about to bring this to their attention. She gonna make a covenant with them. They gonna make her oath and everything else, because nobody knew about this child. And so when she start bringing this child out, this child gonna have to be protected, because if his grandmother is that evil and ambition to kill all her grandkids, what you think she gonna do to the one that she sees that's still alive? So she made a covenant with them and had them under oath at the temple of the Lord. Then she showed them the king's son. She showed them the king's son. And he commanded them, saying, she gave them instruction to guard the temple. Because see, this woman here is evil. So she's still trying to protect this child. So she putting guards at all the temple. to make all the end of the temple to make sure this boy is protected. So on the Sabbath day, all the guards of the temple, ought to be guarded so they can protect this boy. So now they're doing all this because the grandmother had killed all the grandkids but one. So since she did not know how many grandkids she have, she didn't even know one was missing. How your grandma did not know how many grandkids she have? So they're telling them, to station yourself, you know, around this boy. You know, go everywhere he go, you go. Each of them, she said, make sure y'all have a weapon at each of the gates that y'all at, because if anyone come through there, she said, take them out. you know. So each of y'all that have a weapon in your hand, anyone who approach the rank is to be put to death. Stay close to the king wherever he go. So they're still protecting his boy. So they protect the child from his own grandmother. His own grandmother wanted the throne, wanted power. Since she didn't know how many grandkids she have, she didn't even know one was missing. So while the nurse hid him, the boys for 6 years, hit the boy for 6 years, and then on the 7th year, that now she bring him a forfeit. And that's how God do. God will hide you for a while, and when it's the right time, you know, He will have you to show up. So now it's the right time for this boy to show up. So this nurse hid him, and now this child will have the throne and to be king. To be king, that she went through all that killing. Now she went through all that killing her grandkids for the throne. And she not even gonna get it. It gonna go to Josh, the grandchild that she thought she killed. So it don't pay us to be so evil and ambitious. Because she went through all that trouble killing all her grandkids. And one of the grandkids still gonna have that throne. So he was brought out to the king's son and put the crown on him. See, they're bringing the boy out. They put the crown on his head. They represent him with a copper of the covenant. And they proclaim him king. So they represent, claim him as king. So then they also anoint him. And the people clapped. They was happy. They was shouting because they thought she killed all the grandkids. The nurse did not let nobody know that this child was still alive, that she was protecting this child. So that's why they thought she killed all the grandkids. So when they found out this boy here was still alive, and he got the throne, he the king, they put the crown on his head. They was a shouting and they was so happy and they were making so much noise. Now remember, they clapping and shouting and making so much noise. Happy for this boy. They surrounding him. But here come her. Here come Athaliah. She heard all the noise and she looked, and that was her grandbaby. That was her grandbaby. I'm surprised. She know how he still looked. So when she realized the king was her grandson, she tore her robe off. Because that's just how angry she was. She thought she killed all of them. To see one of her grandchild is still alive, she just ripped her robe off. And she called his name. She called his name. His name is Josh, but she called him Trenton. Trenton. And that's what the nurse had to hurry up, had to protect him. No telling what she was gonna do. So remember, she said, if anyone come near this boy, put him to death. So now the nurse ordered the commander to bring her out between the ring and put the sword, anyone who followed her, put the sword towards her and anyone that's followed her. So the priest said she must not be put to death in the temple of the Lord. Now the priest stepped off, you know, The priest found out how she killed all her grandkids. And he was like, oh no, we're not going to kill her up in this temple, not in this temple. So they sized her as she reached the place where the hearses and the palace ground was, and there she was put to death. So they put her to death out there where the hearses and stuff was at. They refused. They said, oh no, we're not going to put her there in this temple, not in the Lord's temple. So now she was evil. She had she had all kinds of image of all kind of false gods, to the temple, to, so the people in the community, when she was there, they went with, she had all this image of false gods, and this tore all that stuff down. They smashed it all up and tore it down. Remember, she was the queen over them. So they couldn't do anything. Well, now she dead, they tore all that stuff down. So they brought the king down from the temple. They brought the little boy down from the temple. And they went into the palace, entering by the way of the gate of the guards. You had to go out through guard. She had placed guards everywhere to protect his boy from his own grandmother. So the king then took his place on the royal throne, you know, and the city was calm. You remember, the city was all riled up because she was evil, and so now this little boy, 7 years old, taking his place as the king. And now everybody is calmed down, because they had somebody that was a queen, was so mean. Now because she had been dead, at the palace. Josh was 7 years old when he began to be king. Instead of her grieving for her son, now anybody being instead of shy, they see their child dead. She ain't even mourn for her son. She just started thinking evil. She just started thinking evil. And once it decided to just kill all her grandkids, she started thinking of power. You know, thinking of power. So then she finally put all that she learned into practice in her mind, and she was unstoppable. Just like her parents was. She felt like she was unstoppable. That she could do whatever she wanted. Kill all her grandkids and just thought she was gonna just get away with it. So one, we see that Angelina was evil, she was ambitious, and two, we saw that her son was dead. She saw that her son was dead, but she did not grieve for her son. She just started thinking about evilness, what she gonna do next. She killed all her grandkids, you know, and she thought none of it. She didn't cry after she did it. She didn't mourn for her grandkids. None of that. And then she didn't even know how many grandkids that she had. They didn't even know one was missing. So she did not know how many grandkids she had. And when she thought she killed them all, the nurse hid one. The nurse how she hid one of the grandkids, for 6 years, and for 7 years, then she pulled him out. So when he was 7 years old, he was brought from hiding to be anointed for king. She was so evil in a vision for power that she didn't get anywhere because she wound up there. And her grandkids is the king. And she was there. She was dead after she done killed all her grandkids. And she thought she was going to get away with it. So that's the story on a woman that was the daughter. That was the daughter of Jezebel and Ahab. Ahab and Jezebel, they ran Elijah. They're the one that killed all the prophets. And they want to kill Elijah. And Elijah had flee, and God asked him, what is you doing here? So these are two evil people that killed all the prophets, and they were trying to kill Elijah. So she grew up with these parents. So she picked up on a whole lot of evilness that they was doing. And she wanted power. She wanted to make history for herself. You know, she wanted to make history for herself. You know, so for history, power, you know, all that be so important to her than her grandkids. You know, so she wanted to kill all her grandkids for power. You know, for to be. She already was the queen. You know, some people just want more. You know, but to kill all your grandkids for power, you know, that's nonsense to me. You know, so just the story of a woman that was so evil and vicious over power in a throne. You know, that was more important to her than her grandkids. You know, so she and then the first part, she didn't even know how many grandkids she had. They didn't even know one was still alive. You know, so that's all the word I have for you on today. I see y'all on the next video.